Quilt Hoodie Part 2. Come here. If you notice, I have a giant pillow on my hand that it touches everything that is in my path, and this is a little obnoxious. I cut a little piece of my finger off on accident, and yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about it. I was just cutting up some potatoes, and that's not even a lie. I was just cutting up some potatoes, and I missed the potato for one of my potatoes. Now I have a little bit less potato on this hand. Okay, we got all of our little quilty pieces, and I'm gonna make a few alterations. This pattern, the original pattern, is the Stella Hoodie from Tilly and the Buttons. But I want to make it a zipper hoodie, so I need to cut this and put a zipper in. I want to put the ribby, cuffy kind of thing at the bottom of the hoodie, so I need to do that because this pattern does not call for that. And the last thing is that for the hood, I want to have the drawstring in there, but this is already lined, so I have to come up with a way to do it different from how they tell me to do it in the book. And that's a lot of alterations, and then we're sewing all this together, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be good. Now I gotta put the sleeves on. Pretty exciting, because the bodice comes together so fast with this kind of project that you just feel like you've made so much progress so quickly. So these first 4 pieces are the bulk of the entire thing. I mean, you see how much all this fabric is in these 2 sleeves, and then all we have left is this little stack over here. Typically, I am one to pin all the things I can possibly pin at one time and then go to the machine and sew all of those things together. But in this particular instance, I do not feel like it is a good idea to put both these sleeves pinned on and then go try to sew them on the machine because it's just too fat. I'm also considering that maybe I shouldn't be using the sewing machine on this because when I sewed the shoulder seams, she was chugging along a little slow. To serge or to sew? That's never before been the question for me until now. And now that I have a serger, I just feel like I need to use that serger on everything. It's so much faster. Still considering trying the serger because that was not great. It's attached, it's on there, but it's really scary. You saw how much the sewing machine was struggling. I decided to take some scrap quilt fabric. It's pretty shocking to me at this point that we have any scrap quilt fabric, but I took 2 layers, ran it through the serger, and that was way better. So I'm just gonna use old Sergio here for the rest of this project. And I gotta put the other sleeve on. So. Finishing sleeve assembly. It'd be weird if I was assembling seams, although that's kind of what sewing is, isn't it? I'm assembling seams. It's locked up. Maybe I'm not gonna use the serger for the rest of this project, but also I can't get the fabric out of the machine. Hit me. Oh, it went. Maybe all hope is not lost. Maybe I wasn't pushing the pedal down hard enough. Because if you just barely press the pedal down, if you press the pedal like halfway down even, it doesn't go. It just makes noises like it's trying to, but it doesn't go. Versus on the sewing machine, that baby just goes as soon as you barely tap the thing. Maybe I just psyched myself out here. Or, I don't know, because I tried to turn the hand wheel and it wouldn't turn. So that's a little suspicious. Although now I'm trying to turn it and it's also not turning. I might have not turned that hard enough also. Just over here sabotaging myself and not sabotaging myself at all, actually. Just scaring myself and making myself think I can't do this because I broke stuff. I didn't break anything. It's fine. False alarm. It's all great. It's nice and gravy here now. I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. The machine's perfectly fine. This is gonna be great. I'm gonna have this sleeve attached any minute now. That didn't work super great. Probably because the tension's not appropriate for 2 layers of this. It was appropriate for 1 layer. It's probably not right for 2, but also I think I'm just gonna try to go back through it and go closer in so that it trims off some of the fabric and does it, because it kind of wasn't catching both edges. And also, this is less seam allowance, taking less seam allowance than what the pattern calls for anyways, so it'll be fine. I'm gonna finish up these sleeves. It's day 2, and we already basically have a jacket, so that's pretty cool. It fits pretty good, and it feels fantastic. But I will probably have to trim the sleeve to be able to get a cuff on there and get it to fit the way I want to. And to get the cuff down here, you can tell this is already pretty long. I'm gonna have to trim this up to get the cuff on the bottom as well. Still, I don't know what you call it, but I'm gonna call it a cuff. Sue me. So, yeah, I'm gonna get my cuff on and get my zipper on, and then I'll figure out what to do after that. Ah. This is not good for your scissors. Maybe use some crappier scissors for it so that you don't dull them all out. Well, I'm trimmed, so now I can measure out my bottom cuff piece and get that cut out and sewed on. And then it's zipper time. Hopefully this is a good amount of trim. It feels like a good amount of trim. Kind of looks like a little mid crop right now, but I'm gonna put like a 1 to 2 inch cuff on the bottom. So I'm just gonna measure that out real quick, get it cut out, serge it on, and get this zipper on. If you didn't want to put a hood on it, you wouldn't have to. If you didn't want to put cuffs on the sleeves, you wouldn't have to. Why? Because it's serged. Well, in this case, it's not super well serged, but if you did it, it would probably be fantastic because you're amazing. I think I'm just gonna eyeball this because look how eyeballable it looks. Also, like sometimes when you get this fabric, like a knit fabric, it comes in a round instead of in a sheet. It's a tube, I guess is the more appropriate way to say it. This is some scrap from a different project from a long time ago. But the tube is a little bit bigger than the hood, so I'm gonna have to trim it down. I'm going to cut it at the end, and I don't have to worry about seam allowance because it's stretchy. And then I'm gonna do twice the length that I want so I can fold it over. Get that perfect base cuff. Fantastic. Now that I have the cuff on here, I have to decide if I'm going to just put the zipper on here and hope for the best, and that this bulk isn't going to be too much to try and like, because you sew the zipper down and you turn it over and then you have basically all the layers of fabric behind the zipper. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do that or if I'm going to take a strip of fabric and sew it on to here and then sew the zipper onto that instead. I decided to go the fast way, and I'm just going to put the zipper directly on the jacket. I serged the edges so that that'll be easier. And I'm going to do my little cheat and use my double-sided water dissolvable sew throughable tape to attach the zipper to the cloth while I sew it. I have a zipper, which means I can zip it up now. It needs to be top stitched, but I can't do that on my machine, so that's going to have to be a hand stitch job. How does it look? I can't see it, so I don't know how it looks, but it feels fantastic. And it's the perfect length. And now I can trim up my sleeves so I can put the thing on there, which actually, now that I'm looking at it with my arm bent, I don't know if I will trim it because the cuffs for this are not very long. They are about that long. So I think we're just going to leave it actually where it is. Put the trim on there. Yeah, that's a lot I can take in. So I'll worry about that later, because all I'm going to do is go back to the seam that's already in here and just go in further on it. So that's all there is to this construction. So that's actually, I believe, the correct way to do that. And if it's not, I ended up having to use the sewing machine to put the cuffs on, unfortunately, because I could not get it to fit on the serger and the fabric wasn't stretchy at all. This quilt, or this hood pattern, actually worked out really well for this because we could still get a hood shape even though our fabric was not stretchy at all, super stiff fabric. So that worked out, and that was not planned, so extra points there. I'm curious if color scheme is as important to everybody else. Comment, let me know, and let me know what kind of quilt jacket do you like? What is your style? Because mine is oddly specific, and I'm just curious if everybody else's is too. The last thing I have to do before I can attach the hood to the rest of the jacket is to add a channel to the front so I can put a drawstring in it. And to do that, I just added a strip of black fabric, sewed down the edge, and then sewed buttonholes on either end so the drawstring can come out through the buttonholes, and then folded it over and sewed it down on the other side. Then we put our drawstring in there, and it was fantabulous. I love it so much. This kind of makes me feel weird. This kind of makes me feel old. Well, I guess it's time for the reveal. It's good for you. Why is it always on the bottom? I never realized how much I like this show. early now.